Hi there, Dean Walker here from Living Resilience. Welcome to the deep dive special focus series part of the work that's offered here in Living Resilience. It's possible that you're just watching this for the first time in your first taste of this work of both Living Resilience and our online YouTube podcast channel. It's called The Poetry of Predicament. So you may be watching us there on the Poetry of Predicament. And what this actually is, this video, is it's an introduction, a brief version of the introductory piece of our deep dive special focus on the roots of fascism in the US 2025 and beyond. So we are doing a number of different deep dive special focus series for people who realize, yeah, I get too much of doom scrolling every day, but I actually don't know much about who are the other groups that are deeply affecting the Donald Trump 2.0 presidency. I call those the Dark Alliance. That Dark Alliance is made up of primarily the Heritage Foundation and the Christian Nationalists, or the Christo-Fascists, as they're sometimes called. They are, of course, the hub of that Dark Alliance that's behind the Trump 2.0 presidency. And they are the actual creators of Project 2025, which you are likely to have heard of by now. It was the primary motivator behind and really construct behind many of the actions of 2025 and the Trump 2.0 presidential administration, including Doge, including the demolition of things like Social Security, the social safety net, and of course, immigration and the innate cruelty built into that system, and on and on the list goes. It's convenient, but I think it's sloppy of us to keep saying, well, Trump is the problem, and this is all Trump, and this is how bad Trump is. That may or may not be your point of view, but what I'm trying to say is it is not wise for us to just bundle it all into his personality and his particular role. Sure, it's a central role and he is a pungent personality, without a doubt. But it is truly a mistake to think that if he were to die or to move on or give up the presidency, which all of which, are some are likely more likely than others. But if he were to be out of that position as president, the people that are waiting in the wings and supporting in the wings constantly and have been all along in 2025 and up till now, these people are no rest for for our stress and depression and so on with Trump. These people offer no relief. They, in fact, offer probably a different kind of hard edge and greater pungent presence in all the ways that we've experienced in 2025 from Trump directly. And it's not just his cabinet. There are multiple layers of people who are of extreme influence, power, and an ability to sway how Trump actually shows up in his role as well. So, what we're about to look at is about a 13-minute piece from a content creator from the UK, of all places. And he has done just, I think, a great summary. This is an excerpt from an hour-long piece that he's created. The piece is called "Why Billionaires Want You to Be Christian Now." And this 13-minute segment from this 1 hour long video by this content creator named Jimmy the Giant. I have found it to be as crisp, clear, and brief a contextual piece, historical context, and cultural context piece as I've seen. So I'm wary of taking up too much of your time. This is going to be one of the first things that you're going to see in what may be your first deep dive with us here in the special series offered by Living Resilience. One thing I'd like to say about uh, Jimmy, Jimmy the Giant's presentation is that while he does give us that historical context and the current dimensions of the Christian nationalist presence in every aspect of our lives in the USA right now, and the fascistic representation within that our administration right now. There's one group, one particularly other strong group that he just doesn't focus on nearly as much as I do in this special focus series. If you do the deep dive series completely, I think you'll want to go right to the Broligarchs, the tech billionaires that are having also such an incredible impact and influence on every aspect of our governance and of corporate presence around the world. They've really just taken a neoliberal stance that has been present for multiple decades now in the USA, and they've taken it to a remarkable extreme, a fascistic extreme, like the Christian nationalists have from their particular orientation in this administration. It's really important to understand that these Christian nationalists have been at this, the preparation for this time, for decades. They've been playing the long game. They've been quietly in the background in government situations, in economic situations, and of course in the faith communities across the USA and so on. And they've in their quiet, in their lack of public presence and no polish on that public presence, really, they ended up becoming kind of a joke, butt of many jokes in the USA. And one of the particularly just hard to stomach, hard to swallow uh, public personas that they put out through Fox and so on, through the right-wing media is a war on Christmas. There were a few years there where you might recall that there was like clockwork, the Fox presenters would all speak about the horrific war on Christmas that the libtards were putting out, and how could we possibly let this happen, and the outrage and so on. And it really just did come off as silly, as absurd, as shallow. And they became the butt of much of American cynical humor over a few years. You're going to get, we're going to start this clip from Jimmy the Giant's summary of the Christian nationalists in the US fascist movement. So you can just remember the absolute silly uh, place that they put themselves, posture that they put themselves in for a few years. And what I can tell you, and you probably know this by now, they quickly worked on and have polished and refined and built up great amounts of political and cultural muscle in refining their message, their messaging to the American public and to the world. So you're going to see Jimmy the Giant take us from those kind of silly times and start to see how more and more gravitas is coming in as each year goes by until they finally hit the right chemistry for Project 2025's realization in the person of Donald J. Trump. There's one last thing that I'll say more about just after this clip. That this material, this deep dive material about the Christo-Fascists, the Christian Nationalists in particular, this can get very, very hard to be present for. This is not easy information to take on, and to understand the depth of darkness, of shadow, of really their nationalist intentions is to take over the USA and the governance of the USA in a Christo-Fascist form. So if you may or may not have either read the book or seen the TV series of Handmaid's Tale from Margaret Atwood, that of course is Hollywoodized, but I don't think it's particularly hyperbolic. I don't think it's over the top. I think it's well within reach. Those aspects, those deep shadow aspects that were expressed so well by Margaret Atwood in Handmaid's Tale. And so this is not for the faint of heart. There's a reason why we here in Living Resilience offer a number of really effective in their own way and at a particular level of introductory courses that are easy. They're not a massive amount of content. They're gentle. They're still quite effective at accessing our inner resources that we're going to need no matter what level we enter into this conversation of human-caused collapse of both Earth systems and human systems. And believe me, we are in the midst of human-caused collapse of both Earth systems and human systems. But if a person goes into that conversation before they have the capacity, the inner capacity to be able to hold it, to be able to honor whatever reactions come up in themselves or their loved ones, that can be damaging. So I think you're going to be fine no matter where you are in watching this 15-minute clip. It's bold, it's clear, but it is not as dark as it gets. But it'll give you a taste of it. And if you struggle with this 15 minutes, say, then you may well want to back out of, for instance, you might be in our inner work course, which is our advanced course for 2026 and beyond. You may want to, if you've already gone into that a little bit, you might want to back out and give yourself some time to take a gentler route in our introductory courses. So I'll speak with you a little bit about that again after Jimmy the Giant gives us his content regarding the Christian Nationalists and Christo-Fascists in our governance today.
The culmination of a war on faith.
As the war on Christmas goes, I feel like we should be waging a war on Christmas. I mean, I believe that Christmas, it's almost proven that Christmas has nuclear weapons, can be an imminent threat to this country, that they have operative ties with terrorists, and I believe that we should sacrifice thousands of American lives in pursuit of this war on Christmas. And hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer money.
Literally every single fucking year, these lot go insane that Christmas is being cancelled. It's always somewhere around late November.
Do you ever get the feeling Christmas is being erased? Because go to the busiest shopping streets in London today and you'll be hard-pushed to find the word Christmas anywhere.
This year is because Tesco's didn't label one of their brands a Christmas tree.
Yeah, we're going to start with the latest from Tesco.
I think a lot of you at home are going to be quite annoyed with this. Now, Tesco, the big supermarket chain, appears to have got rid of the famous Christmas trees, instead renaming them evergreen
trees.
Evergreen
There's
trees.
the evergreen tree.
Here we are.
And it's kind of a fun one. It can be hard to predict what they're going to be upset about every year. And normally why this was happening is because, well, a threatened majority group is the easiest group to radicalize. Now, I really think we should focus a bit more on this cultural shift because it was happening. The old Christian America was definitely changing, and the Christians were obviously pissed. You got to understand that evangelical Christians really held lots of power throughout history, and it was around about the sort of 90s and 2000s where they had gone from being like mainstream status quo to the absolute butt of every single joke in pop culture.
But I can't find anything. Wait, what's this?
God wants you to send us money. He needs you to send us money so we can help others.
Oh my God, this guy again. Why would anybody send this asshole money?
I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. We believe all the same things that you believe, but we go to church on Saturdays. What?
You had a generation of millennials that grew up in an era where Eminem was being cancelled by Christians. Christians were endlessly outraged over South Park. They thought that Harry Potter was witchcraft, that video games make kids go and shoot up schools. And they had had power for a long time, but at some point, people, the young people, just got fucking tired of them.
Eminem is using his music to settle an old score. This time, the man whose lyrics earlier attacked his mother is now aiming at the wife of the vice president.
Talk about shocking. Rapper Eminem stages a mock electrocution of Vice President Dick Cheney in his latest music video.
The young people weren't allowed to do anything without this pearl-clutching reaction from evangelical Christians. And eventually, people just kind of stopped being scared of them and instead just started to laugh at them. By the time that Obama had taken office, they had really realized that they had lost cultural control. And it was at this point where they realized they needed to change their strategy, as they realized that no longer do Christian moral value arguments work, because society at large doesn't really agree with the evangelical Christian morality. Calling Harry Potter witchcraft, it wasn't working. So it'd be in this time where they would stop appealing to morals. They would no longer tell you to vote for the candidate that represents the Christian values. The rhetoric shifted. It had moved to, your country is being taken from you, and that we must take back America. And like when you hear that, you start thinking, well, who's taking it from us? Who's doing that? It's mean. And inevitably, this creates conspiracy theories to work out who is plotting this evil. And one of the key, most important conspiracy theories in this time was the theory that Barack Obama wasn't born in America.
First making a buzz right now, Sheriff Joe Arpaio and his cold case posse calling into question the authenticity of President Obama's birth certificate.
This was known as birtherism. Real catchy name there, guys. And it was quite a big deal, and it was really pushed the hardest by the Christian right. But also, why it's important to our story is that very notably, it launched the political career of one very important figure, Donald J. Trump.
Well, I've been told very recently, Anderson, that the birth certificate is missing. I've been told that it's not there and it doesn't exist. And if that's the case,
Who told you that?
That's a big problem. I just heard that 2 days ago from somebody.
Now, Donald Trump didn't invent Christian nationalism, but really he was one of the first to recognize its political potential. And so, yeah, he positioned himself as like the protector of Christians, the defender of real America. He's that strong muscle boy. He's not, he's fat, but he's the strong man who's going to restore the country. And he's the leader who will fight the godless elite. Genuinely, there are some people who think that Donald Trump is chosen by God.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God.
I believe Donald Trump is chosen by God for this moment in time to restore America back to what it needs to be and to bring the Judeo-Christian values back in line.
For a movement that had been primed by 2 decades of media propaganda, Trump wasn't just a politician. Trump was a symbol of revenge and a tool for the Christian nationalists. Because, yeah, it might be fucking obvious that Donald Trump's life doesn't really represent that of what we think of Christians. He's basically everything against most understandings of Christian values. So yeah, it might be confusing as to why would Christian nationalists embrace a figure like Trump. And this is really what you need to understand about Christian nationalists. When they claim that what they want is a nation of Christian values, what they really mean by that is a nation in which they can wield the power of the state to push their very narrow interpretation of Christianity. One of extreme patriarchy, women not being able to vote, one that is anti-LGBTQ, one that is anti-multicultural, anti-immigrant, and they want to take their values and influence the state, the education system, the media, and the legal system. So yeah, Trump's morality doesn't matter to them. What matters is that he gave Christian nationalists, for the first time in a long while, a platform, a massive platform, to push their belief that progressivism, liberalism, secularism, that these things were destroying America, and that America belonged to them alone. The real Americans.
President Trump is the man that will bring righteousness, the rule of law, and the Judeo-Christian values to our civilization.
Yeah, it's okay to call me a Christian nationalist because I believe in the country and I believe in the Bible. Okay, so how can you be wrong with that?
So that's why you see things like the Muslim ban, attempts to overturn LGBTQ protections, stacking courts with conservative Christian judges, abolishing Roe v. Wade.
Hey, if God can overturn Roe v. Wade, he can do anything, amen?
Presidential photo ops using the Bible as a prop, pastors in the Oval Office praying for him in front of cameras. All this is like red meat to the Christian nationalists. This was the merger of political power with religious identity and a media machinery that the new right had been building for decades. And yeah, Trump fully embraced the Christian nationalists, and he would openly rub shoulders with a thing known as the Seven Mountains Mandate.
But I'll tell you, finally, we have a president that understands the seven mountains of cultural influence. Finally, we have a president that understands the significance of standing, yes, I'm going to use a term, in solidarity with the grassroots activists of our country.
So when Christian nationalist Charlie Kirk says the statement that Donald Trump understands the seven mountains of cultural influence, this isn't just a thing he said for fun. This isn't a throwaway phrase. The Seven Mountains Mandate is very important. It was invented back in the 70s by a few evangelical leaders who decided that if we want to control a nation, we need to take over key institutions. And those institutions, the mountains, are family, religion, education, media, art, entertainment, business, and government. 7 key pillars. Control those 7, you control the culture. Control the culture, you control the country. You know when right-wingers sometimes say things that there's this globalist communist plot of unified, coordinated, wealthy elites who want to overthrow all of the world's institutions to enact complete communist control? Well, they're not totally wrong when they say that. There is, right now, provably a connected globalist community funded by billionaires, PACs, think tanks, political strategists, politicians, all the way through to influencers, podcasters, newspaper, and new media. All of these people united with the understanding that Christian nationalism could be used as a global right-wing identity movement. You've literally got networks like the Council for National Policy, Turning Point USA, the Atlas Network, the Heritage Foundation. The same Heritage Foundation that were behind Ronald Reagan, Thatcher, the New Right, all the way back then, is the same one that wrote a document called Project 2025. This is Trump's governing program.
What is Project 2025? It is everyone here. This is the movement. We are going to be prepared day one, January 20, 2025, to hit the ground running as conservatives to really help the next president.
In this document, this insane document, I think they've just dropped another one. I ain't read it yet, but I've heard it's insanity. It proposes purging thousands of civil servants and replacing them with Trump loyalists. They want to put the Department of Justice, education, healthcare, even science agencies under the direct control of the White House. And they want to roll back civil rights protections so that biblical values can guide public policy. You can even go and look at an online tracker that shows you just how much of Project 2025 that Trump has already enacted. Despite him saying that he has nothing to do with it, he has completed quite a lot of it.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
And these think tanks, these networks, they are funded by some of the wealthiest, most influential people on earth. The Mercers, the Koch network, the DeVos family, dark money groups linked with fossil fuels, real estate wealth, foreign governments, royals, dictators. There's some real bad bros there, and you might notice that for this Christian nationalist movement, there seems to be a lot of people that aren't churches. Many of these groups aren't spiritual. They don't care about God and Jesus, but they get behind Christian nationalism fundamentally because what they care about is deregulation, low taxation, anti-union policies, privatization, rolling back equality laws, and weakening the power of the people via the state. And they learned all the way back then that Christian identity politics is an incredibly powerful vehicle for that political project. With around about 350,000 churches across America, it's very easy for them to organize them politically. They push out political talking points amongst their congregation, and combined with the established media ecosystem that works hand in hand, pushing out daily propaganda to their phones, it's a very powerful coalition, and one that is very hard to reason with. Because, I mean, think about it, if you frame your political goals as God's will, and that anyone who opposes God's will is the devil trying to destroy your country, you don't really have much room for debate in that. But you see, once Donald Trump came in 2016, and America began its fall into the hands of the Christian nationalists, the strategists behind this quickly planned how they could extend their reach across Europe. Steve Bannon, right, very famous, he's Trump's former strategist. He's openly described his mission as building a global populist revolt.
What I'd like to do is set up something, and I'll fund it somehow, that I think you're the perfect guy. We help knit together this populist nationalist movement throughout the world. Because guys in Egypt are coming to me, the Modi's guys in India, Duterte, you know, and we get Orban and even and we're somehow some sort of convening authority for conferences and stuff like that, so we can get ideas out there. I mean, do you think that's a worthwhile thing?
Yeah,
or you think nobody's got it? Nobody's doing it right now.
It's not being done.
Bannon spent the late 2010s traveling across Europe, meeting various far-right leaders to get them to play by the same rulebook that worked for Trump. From Nigel Farage to Italy's Matteo Salvini to Hungary's Viktor Orban, and he pitched to them the same formula: mix Christian identity with anti-migration politics and culture war grievance into a single unifying ideology. In September 2025, Nigel...
Yes, an ideology indeed. So you've seen a few minutes of a summary, quite a strong summary, I believe, from a UK content creator. And you've gotten a sense of how Donald Trump fits into this scenario. And I think you're starting to get a sense of the Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation folks, and how they have created this dark alliance that goes far beyond the fundamentalist Christians, the evangelicals, and so on. As you will find, if you were comfortable with this amount of information, if you're perhaps already familiar with much of it, then I would suggest strongly to dive into our deep dive special focus series here on the Roots of Fascism 2025 and beyond here in Living Resilience. No matter which way you go, if you go to the more gentle introductory courses, or if you dive further into this and other deep dive segments that are produced specially for folks who are diving into our main course, which is, of course, the inner work, being together in the great unraveling. That is our advanced course for 2026 and beyond. Whichever you're choosing, or if you may disconnect from us completely and find your own route, I wish you all the best. This is a time to find the right fit for you. Where are your people? Where is your level of discovery and clarity about what matters most to you? And to find your people who are aligned and resonant with that. And we just wish you the best in that, creating that path for yourself, finding those folks with whom you resonate. And if you do decide to stick around here and particularly in the deep dive or the introductory level, we'll hope to see you in circle with us sometime soon. No matter what you choose, we wish you the best. These are very, very challenging times, and there is a great possibility to touch the beauty of each day, of each moment in each day. That's the beauty that is behind even the most despicable or challenging actions by the various people in motion in our world right now. Wishing you all the best. Bye for now.